Welcome back to my views and news, another video with some corrections, updates and new stories. New stories about curfews imposed in some parts of Ethiopia in one woreda of the Amhara region of Ethiopia. Curfew has been imposed, nighttime curfew in one city of this woreda. And secondly, in a regional state, nighttime curfew has been imposed. Ethiopian state media does not cover very extensively. Private news sources too, YouTube channels too. They don't cover in detail what is happening in this region. I read several videos on the security situation in this region where now nighttime curfew has been imposed reportedly. Secondly, where are 25 bishops appointed by three archbishops a few months ago? They were appointed mostly to Oromia, but that appointment led to start of a split within the church, with one faction led by the Patriarch Abune Matthias and the other faction led by Abune Sarios and two other archbishops. The two sides were on a collision course. The church called for nationwide rallies. PM Abiy intervened, an agreement was signed. Then the church appointed 9 bishops a few days ago after consultation and consensus. Where are 25 bishops? Are they being held hostage in Addis Ababa? It is being claimed by some sources. Before these news stories, I have a few corrections and updates for you. Sometimes I make mistakes, sometimes due to slip of tongue, I share incorrect information which I should correct, because purpose of making these videos is to keep the viewers well informed, and whenever they point out mistakes, I welcome it, because your comments keep me on a right track. Your comments make me improve my content. I did a video today about Fano's capabilities to reach Addis Ababa. After that, some people very close to Fano contacted me. They shared their input, which I'll make part of. I'll make part of their input. Their input will be included in some coming videos, hopefully. Now, some corrections. In the previous video, I said that Gujam was less than 100 kilometers close to Addis Ababa. Several viewers pointed out. I think I meant to say Shoa, North Shore zone. Obviously, it shares border with Oromia. It's closer to Addis Ababa than Gujam. So, the North Shore zone of the Amhara region definitely is closer to Addis Ababa than Gujam. Several viewers commented, corrected me. Thanks for your comments. Secondly, Gießen, Germany. Yesterday, I reported about planning by certain opposition groups to stop an upcoming festival organized by certain government-backed groups in Sweden, Stockholm. The festival will be held in the first week of August. I mentioned what happened in Gießen, Germany more than a week ago, where in clashes between security forces and opposition groups, Eritreans, several police officials were injured, not killed. I said that more than 20 police officers had been killed. No one was killed. No police officer was killed in Gießen, Germany. No protester was killed in Gießen, Germany. But more than 20 police officials were injured, and several protesters were injured too. So it should be corrected. Thirdly, very importantly, a few days ago, an Ethiopian news source claimed that Ethiopian military had received new supplies of Turkish combat drones. Back then, if you remember, I contacted an expert who said that he had no information about new deliveries. Then he checked his work, and today he again contacted me. He said that he could not find any trace of evidence about flights from Turkey to Ethiopia this year. Flights, suspicious flights, cargo flights, flying, taking off from Takirda Carlo Airport, which is known for shipping drones abroad. No flights from Takirda Carlo Airport of Turkey to any Ethiopian military base or airport this year. Confirmed by this expert to me today again. It means that either Ethiopia did not receive any modern combat drones from Turkey this year. We know that in 2021, Ethiopia purchased combat drones from Turkey. TB2s were part of air campaign launched by Ethiopian forces against Tigray fighters. And that TB2 drone introduction changed the battlefield balance in favor of Ethiopian military. But this year and in 2021, deliveries were direct from Takirda Carlo Airport to Harar Maada military base, Air Force base in Ethiopia. Those flights were tracked. Flights were tracked between UAE and Ethiopia. UAE also supplied wing-long drones and other armaments to Ethiopian government. So this year, so far, no flights tracked between Turkey and Ethiopia. If Ethiopia purchased drones, either it purchased drones through some other country, from Turkey, it purchased drones from Turkey through other country, which does not happen very often, by the way. Turkey supplies drone directly. Turkey is selling drones to several countries. People say that Turkey might be using some other channel to supply drones because it could be put in sanctions. It is part of NATO, but Turkey is supplying drones to several countries in the world, to Africa, to Middle East, etc. And most supplies were direct supplies. So that is what I have learned. So far I could not confirm any deliveries to Ethiopia from Turkey of modern combat drones. Secondly, viewers, now some news stories. Curfew imposed in a town in North Showa zone of the Amhara region. As I said in the last video, North Showa, the most destabilized zone of the Amhara region. The Shigaos, Fano fighters operating here, and some Fano factions here are known for their capabilities of fighting skills. Minjar Shinkora, I think, is in North Showa zone of the Amhara region, and today in a town, main town of Minjar Shinkora, curfew has been imposed, nighttime curfew. Rarity is the name of the town. We did not see any large-scale fighting between Fano fighters and security forces in Minjar Shinkora. There was some clash between Fano and security forces in Minjar Shinkora, but main confrontation between Fano and security forces has been seen in Shorobit, close to Shorobit. In Minjar Shinkora, Ararthi town, curfew imposed because what is happening in Shorobit is definitely having its impact. Shorobit is not part of Minjar Shinkora. What is happening in Shorobit and nearby areas is going to have its effect in nearby Waradas as well. That is why nighttime curfew imposed, restrictions on movement of people and vehicles, carrying of firearms banned, and several other security restrictions have been announced by Minjar Shinkora Rarti city government. Secondly, viewers, Gambella has imposed curfew. Gambella, regional state of Ethiopia, today held a meeting. A cabinet of this regional state held a meeting, and after the meeting, a curfew has been imposed in Gambella regional state. I reported yesterday that two tribes were involved in clashes in Gambella. And today, several sources reported that the clashes which happened in Gambella yesterday cost 30 lives. 30 deaths on the two sides are being confirmed. Anioks and Neors are fighting, two tribes. Very deadly fighting in Gambella. 30 killed, dozens injured reportedly. A Gambella University student was killed yesterday, and that killing led to the start of large-scale clashes between Anioks and Neors. Casualties on both sides. What is the reason of dispute? Dispute is territorial to some extent. They're fighting over territories. Fighting for some time, it's not something new. Is regional government neutral? Where is Ethiopian National Defense Force? ENDF has been in Gambella, but today large-scale deployments of ENDF were made to Gambella. Gambella city, businesses closed, government offices closed. ENDF patrolling the streets of Gambella, regional forces patrolling the streets of Gambella too, and after that curfew imposed. Gambella Liberation Front, another key player in Gambella, has laid down arms. It has signed a peace deal. GLF leadership, Gatlog Boam Paul and others, they accuse the regional government that regional government is backing Neors, who are allegedly using state resources to carry out attacks on Anioks. It's difficult to say which party is being backed by the government, but government has failed to control the situation. That is why curfew imposed. ENDF there. By the way, how will Ethiopian National Defense Force control this worsening security situation in some parts of Ethiopia? Tigray is stable, but still ENDF is deployed there because Tigray-Eritrea border situation is very fluid. So ENDF will have to be deployed there, firstly. Secondly, Somali region of Ethiopia. Somali Special Force disbanded, turned into regional police reportedly, though the process not complete. ENDF must be deployed there too to stop Al-Shabaab from entering territories, Ethiopian territories. If there is no ENDF, obviously, or no LEO there, obviously Al-Shabaab will find it easy to enter Ethiopian territories. Gambella, curfew imposed. BG, ENDF will always remain deployed there. Why? Because there is GERD. GERD is protected by Ethiopian National Defense Force. Oromia, ENDF deployed, fighting against Oromo Liberation Army. Amhara, large-scale deployments needed. Why? Because a new insurgency started. Large-scale confrontation in different parts of Amhara region between Fano and ENDF ongoing. So how will ENDF manage all these fronts? Does ENDF have the budget, the capabilities, the skills? because regional forces, special forces have been disbanded. Now there is just regional police. Regional police is not in a position to control the law and order situation. Curfew imposed in Gambella. Lastly, viewers, Oromia region of Ethiopia, where we know that a few months ago a splinter Orthodox faction emerged. 3 archbishops made appointments of 26 bishops. That appointment led to start of split within the church. The main church rejected the appointments and it accused the government, that Ethiopian federal government, Roman regional government, they were planning to weaken, to divide the church. Main church called for nationwide protests. PM Abiy's government felt threatened, felt under pressure. It then mediated between this breakaway faction and the main church. Later, an agreement was reached, talks were held, and new appointment of 9 bishops was made a few days ago after consultation, after consensus. But even this new appointment of 9 bishops is being rejected by some Orthodox groups in Oromia. We saw protests in Dembidolo, in Gimbi a few days ago, this week rather. Now, where are the 26 bishops who were appointed by the breakaway faction? Because we have seen protests in Oromia demanding the 26 bishops to assume charge. So that is why the 26 bishops were called to report in Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. And today, Oromia Media Network claimed that the 26 bishops are being held hostage in Addis Ababa. They are not being allowed to return to Oromia because if they return to Oromia, people will ask them to assume charge. So that is why 26 bishops are being held hostage in Addis Ababa and 9 newly appointed are being sent to Oromia. 7 to Oromia, 2 to other parts of Ethiopia. Will these newly appointed 7 bishops be allowed to take office in Oromia? We'll see in coming days. I think the 26 will only be allowed to return from Addis Ababa to Oromia after the 7 newly appointed bishops have taken charge. So far in Valaga, we are seeing opposition to the newly appointed 7 bishops. Let's see. Maybe in coming hours we could see some statements or some videos by these 25 or 6 bishops who are allegedly being held hostage in Addis Ababa, Ethiopian capital. Thank you for watching.